You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So I'm excited. This is actually one of my favorite topics, which is taxes, believe it or not. And so I have Mr. Ben Golden. Ben is the CEO of Golden Tax Relief. It's an organization helping individual and businesses with wage garnishment, delinquent tax returns, bankruptcy, and more. Ben is passionate about helping people find themselves in a scary situation, own the IRS money, find peace. That's nice. Protection and posterity. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell them what that means, the last thing I said, and then tell them what I didn't tell them, what brought you into this world.
Definitely. So we want to give our clients peace, protection, and posterity. So we want to give them peace of mind, meaning we know they're going through a problem with the IRS. We're going to help you. Don't worry. Number two, we want to protect you. We don't want the IRS showing up at your place of work or your home and trying to, get you to talk to them. That's why we're there. And then posterity, there is going to be a future. Believe it or not, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to get there. There is hope for the future. And that's what we're really focused on and trying to do for our clients.
That is good news. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So it's two types of people that kind of get in this situation. So I guess we'll just jump right in. Tell them, because you had a story that kind of caused you to get into this.
So I've really got two stories, and I'm really passionate about what I do because I've been on that side of the desk where the IRS is wanting something from you. I know how it feels for a revenue agent to call you, a revenue officer to call you and say, "Hey, Ben, you owe $171,000 of your client's taxes, and Ben, you have to pay that." And then she said, "Oh yeah, and you have retirement here, and you have land here, and you have you're on this account, and you're on that account, and you have an ability to pay a good amount of this if you liquidate everything." I was able to prove that she overstepped her bounds and she made some mistakes, and she did not do the interview process like she was supposed to. And actually, she violated my privacy by looking into me a little bit more than what she should have. But not everybody knows those rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the IRS was going to come and try to bully me, a professional, I was a very young professional at the time, what are they going to do to somebody that doesn't know the rules? How are they going to treat somebody that owes the IRS, but they either don't know it or they are just getting into this problem now? I found through doing this that bad things happen to great people, and it's not bad people or people that have made horrible and terrible mistakes that get into these messes. It's actually great people that, through no fault of their own, life happens.
Right.
And they find themselves into a mess with the IRS. So that's the first story. The second story for me is I had my tax identity stolen. And it was horrific what I had to do. I had to go to the sheriff's department and fill out all these forms saying that it had been stolen. And you know what they did, right, Mr. May? You know what the sheriff's department did, right?
No, what did they do?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
They took it to court. It's exactly what they did.
Right. That's funny. That's not funny.
So it took me 3 years to fix that. And there again, I'm a professional. I know how to fix it. And it still took me 3 years to get it fixed. And now I have to the IRS has to send me a special PIN number for me to electronically file even today. So, there are even effects of that happening back, 6 years ago.
Yes. So let's talk about, so guys, he's been where you've been. Okay. That's where I wanted y'all to get across to you. And I've been where you've been, so it's scary. First of all, you need to work with somebody that's not afraid of the IRS, right? And so, Ben, you are an enrolled agent, right? Tell them what that means.
So there's 3 types of people that can practice before the IRS. I am the only licensed professional licensed by the IRS to represent before the IRS. You also have, in addition to enrolled agents, you have CPAs and attorneys as well. Enrolled agents focus more on taxes, and they focus more on tax returns and things of that nature, as opposed to a CPA. CPA also does a lot of financial work. They do auditing and things like that. And then attorneys, of course, there's multiple different types of attorneys you can go to.
Right.
As an enrolled agent, our primary focus is taxes, and being as the only professional being licensed by the IRS, it gives us just a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more of an edge to know what the next step should be. In my job, it's sort of like playing football. If you're given the playbook of the other team, you should know what plays to run to take advantage of their formation. Right. So the IRS gives me their playbook. It's called an Internal Revenue Manual. So these are the policies and procedures that the Internal Revenue Service gives to their revenue officers and the revenue agents for them to know what the next step is. Okay, so when we get into an engagement, I ask questions to find out where are we, and then I know, pretty much what the next step should be. So I don't have to worry about, well, what do I think they're going to do next? I know what they're going to do next.
And it's like the same, doesn't matter the amount, it's the same play book.
That's right.
So they're going to run this play. You need to set your linebackers here to cut them off, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you owe $40,000 or if you owe $400,000, the IRS doesn't care. They just know that you owe money.
Right.
A revenue officer, and a revenue officer deals with collections, so we know that you owe the money. They are going to come in and do the same thing for somebody that owes $40,000 that they do for $400,000, and and this gets into, well, what happens if the IRS comes and visits me, or they send me these nasty letters? What should I do? Number one, you have a Bill of Rights. Most people don't know that you have a Bill of Rights with the IRS, and one of those rights is that you have right to representation. And that means that you need to talk to somebody to get them to help you, take care of whatever it is that the IRS is asking for. You wouldn't go to a court of law without an attorney. You don't need to talk to the IRS without a professional. So one thing I would tell you, if they ever come to your house or to your business, or if they send you nasty letters or certified mail, if they send you certified mail, you need to respond somehow.
Yeah.
But if they do that, you always say, listen, I need to get somebody to represent me. I don't know about the situation. I just need somebody to help me. And once you say that, they have to stop asking you questions.
What if, I know this for a fact, so I want to bring this up. I've got people that have somebody that says they're working on their stuff, but either they're the accountant or whoever they're working with, but they're not letting you know what they're doing. You don't know where you're at. So you have a levy. You got that, and then I've talked to clients where they have that, but they're not getting response from their persons. They don't know where they're at, so they're walking around on eggshells waiting for the other shoe to drop.
So if you get a levy or a garnishment, that means a levy means that the IRS just goes in and freezes your bank account and takes all the money out of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. If that happens, you have 21 calendar days to get that levy lifted. Okay. And then if it's lifted, then the money in the account goes back to being yours. Mm. Now, let's say that on a Monday you get a levy, and there's $1,000 in your account, and then tomorrow you have another $1,000 deposited to your account. You can use the money that was deposited on Tuesday. But that money that was there on Monday, it gets frozen, and that money will get sent to the IRS. So
they're not going to take all the new money. They're just going to go in that day
And that's right. And that's a misconception that a lot of people don't understand, is that levy is just a picture or a moment in time. It's not forever. It's not a continuous levy. Now, a garnishment, when they take money out of your check, that is a continuous levy.
Right.
That they will continue to take that money out. And, they can take up to 70% of your income. And a lot of people don't understand that. And there's a reason why they take that much. They want you to act. They want you to become a good player, a good partier, a person that's going to take care of it, a person or a party that's going to communicate with the IRS and deal with the issue, as opposed to putting your head in the sand,
Which is like the first response. I mean, so like psychologically, talk to them about how they need to deal with that, because it's terrifying and they just ignore it.
Well,
until then it gets, because they levy you, you've been ignoring stuff for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So the problem is this right here. It's sort of like, if you cut your hand, if you don't do anything about it, it's going to get infected. And what happens if you get staph in your hand?
Right.
Well, you're going to have a huge, huge problem. Right. So what you need to do is you need to put a bandage on it right away. You need to keep it clean. You need to put some ointment in it, and you need to take care of it right then. Your IRS problem is the same exact way. And you need to call a professional, find out what's going on, and then take the appropriate steps to clean the issue up or clear it up.
Okay. So I'm going to throw some scenarios at you. And so the IRS is sending me threatening letters. Ben, what should I do?
You should always figure out why you have the letters. There's only going to be two questions that you're always going to ask, or that a professional is going to ask. Number one, do you owe it? Okay. Do you think you owe the money that the IRS says that you owe? That means, did you go through an audit? Did you not file your taxes and the IRS file them for you? Mm-hmm. Do you owe the money? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. And the second question is, if you know you owe it, can you pay it?
Right.
Okay. And the sooner you pay, the less penalties and interest and things like that you're going to have. But if you can't pay it all at one time, they do have different plans for you to either pay or negotiate a lower amount. And that's what everybody hears on the radio when you hear the radio ads.
Yes.
You can't use the phrase, pennies on the dollar anymore. The IRS stopped that, thank goodness. But, you can negotiate a lower amount than the total amount if you qualify. And that's the thing, is if you qualify. You got to be careful, because a lot of the large syndicated tax resolution firms, they're in it for one thing, and you become a number, and it's like herding cattle. And they're in it for one thing, and it's not to help you. It's about the money, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful in who you pick as a professional. But the thing is, if you get those letters, the first thing you need to do is identify someone to help you. Okay. And when you identify that professional, it needs to be one of those three that we talked about earlier, Mr. May. It needs to be an enrolled agent, a CPA, or an attorney. And a lot of people want to go, okay, well, I need to deal with a tax attorney only. Maybe, maybe not. If you owe $10,000, that's a lot different than owing, $600,000.
Right.
So,
right.
Like I said, if you owe a smaller amount, that may be something you can deal with on your own. But if you owe quite a bit of money, and I tell people, when should you get a professional? If you know you owe it, then you can create your own payment plan. If you owe, $10,000 or $15,000, when you start owing more than $15,000, or you have more than a couple years worth of tax returns that you have to file, or if you've been levied, anytime there's a levy, you need a professional, because they may be able to get that levy lifted and get your money back.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the last one is if you're being audited, because everybody says, well, if I don't have receipts, the IRS is not going to let me take that deduction, right? Well, that's not really true. even if you're a person that's itemizing your taxes, if I don't have all of the deductions for my medical, I can't take it. Well, that's not necessarily 100% true. There's court cases that we can apply that may mean that you don't have to have 100% receipts. And a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to somebody says, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And it sounds like kind of like an attorney, you help them understand their rights with regards to their tax obligations and, knowing their playbook. And so there's really, let me transition to, there's usually, you talked about 3 steps. And so there's 2 types of people. There's, I see it more for business owners, but let's just take personal and business, because what I see with personal is that they're too aggressive with their W-4 and didn't save the money. And then most of the people I see are small. This is what happened to me, small businesses where you're, on commission, your insurance, your network marketing, and you're making money, but nobody taught you about estimated taxes. So it goes back to the first scenario. You do owe the money, but you don't have it. How would you guide this person if you're working?
Well, the first thing that I always do is I do an investigation. Okay. Because you may say, okay, I owe for 16 and 17 taxes, but I've already filed 18 and 19. Well, if I do my investigation and the IRS doesn't have a copy of your 18 return, you've already sent it in. But did you know sometimes the government, they actually do make mistakes? Have you ever, I know you've never heard that.
I've never heard that. I thought they were.
I didn't think
they told me they were here. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. No, so,
of course, yeah. So we do an investigation. I actually go back 20 years to make sure that we don't have any problems. We do the investigation, and then we see, do you have to file any more tax returns? Did the IRS actually file a return on your behalf and you didn't know it? And so after we do our investigation, we comply, meaning we file those tax returns if needed. And then the last thing we do is we put a custom plan together for each client because everybody's situation is just a little bit different. What we may do for you, we may not do for another client. We may do some penalty abatement for you because you qualify. We may do a partial payment plan for you, depending on, how much money you're making. And then we may negotiate on your behalf to see, if you qualify for negotiation. And what that means is I had one client that came in, they owed $372,000. Is a family. He's a realtor, didn't pay his estimated taxes. They had a couple years where they didn't file. She's a school teacher. They had 3 children. He made good money, about $100,000 a year net after expenses. And we were able to go in and say, okay, we know that you owe $372,000 and you cannot pay. You can't pay all of it right now, right? Remember the 2 questions: do you owe it? Can you pay it? So we knew he couldn't pay it. So we negotiated, and the IRS said, okay, well, we'll accept $18,000 as a full pay for the $372,000.
Wow.
And so I said, that's actually great. However, we can do a little better. So we went in and actually cut that down to about $8,600, and they paid the $8,600 instead of the $372,000. And now they have a 5-year look back or look forward period that they've got to stay clean in order to make sure that $372,000 stays off. But, they qualified for us to negotiate on their behalf, and not everyone qualifies. I think the statistics showed that only about 40% of the people that do qualify actually get an acceptance. So you have to make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed to get that accepted as well.
Okay, that is.
But there are tools. Even if you owe it, there are tools to help you get through that period. Okay.
Here's another question. So, can the IRS take my passport if I owe them money? I'm going to go on a trip, and I got to,
if you owe more than $52,000, then the IRS is going to stop you from being able to renew your passport.
Wow.
They don't actually revoke your passport right then, But if you go to renew it, they will not renew it
We'll
at all.
let you. Okay, so it's renewed.
I will tell you that if the IRS decertifies your passport and you are out of the country, you're going to have to go to the embassy, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time at the embassy trying to get back into the country as well. Even though your passport is not revoked, they can decertify it as well.
Wow, that's crazy. Can they seize, and how does that work? Assets, cars, home, retirement accounts?
Yep. I had a client that came to me, and before they came to me, they agreed with the IRS to let them seize their 401k because they owed the money. They didn't think that they could do anything else, so they actually seized the money. And it was a problem because he had just gone through a divorce, and the divorce decree said that half of the 401k was hers.
Wow.
And the IRS took all of the 401k. So it took his portion and her portion. The IRS said, I don't care what your divorce decree said. You owe us this money. We're taking it. So they did. And he still owed. They took a little over $60,000 out of the 401k. And before he came to us, and then he still owed $150,000 after they took the 60. And we were able to prevent them from taking a traditional IRA of $32,000. Okay. We took that $32,000, gave it to the wife because she should have gotten the money from the 401k.
Right.
He still owes her some money, but we stopped the IRS from taking that. And then we just got him on a payment plan for $50 a month.
Okay. That's fantastic. If they're looking at people, let's say they're hearing this, actually you got your call, a lot of times you just don't, this is a pet peeve of mine. There's no communication from the person you're working with, and you don't know where you're at. So in your process, as what kind of should you be expecting in communication from your representation in terms of? I
love the question, because in my judgment, client expectation management is one of the most important things that I do. And what does that mean? What is client expectation management? It's easy for me to tell you. That means that if you have a problem, I just need to update you very often to let you know what's going on. COVID-19 has happened in the United States. Well, guess what? The IRS has been shut down. All right. Because they're shut down, there are hardly any updates that we can actually give clients. So, every 2 to 3 weeks, we send out an email or pick the phone up and say, hey, just want to let you know the IRS is shut down and there's nothing that we can do. I know that you have this problem. I know that you owe this money. They're not going to come see you. They have to call me. They cannot call you because we have a power of attorney on hand.
Yeah.
If they do, tell them to call me. But the key is communication. Okay,
yes.
So let me give you some statistics real quick. Let me give you some statistics, because I'm a statistic nut. I absolutely love them. Do you know the number one cause of people leaving a CPA?
No.
The feeling of someone not caring for them, the feeling of apathy, right? So the number one fear for accountants is a client leaving. Okay. The number one reason why they leave is a feeling of apathy. Now, the CPA or the accountant actually cares for and loves that client, right? But if you don't communicate and you don't talk to them and let them know what's going on, then the CPA or accountant, the client is going to feel like that CPA doesn't care for them or isn't worried about them. I mean, literally, if it just means that someone in the CPA's office just picks the phone up and says, hey, Mr. May, just want to let you know we got your question. We're going to respond within 48 hours. Even if it's something like that, as a client, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I know that you're going to follow up with me, and I know that you know that I have a question or have a problem. So if your professional that you're dealing with is not following up with you on a very regular basis, Mr. May, you might have to have one of those uncomfortable conversations with a professional. Well, guess what? They are a professional for a reason. All you got to do is bring it to their attention. Bring them into what I call a true awareness of the situation, right?
Okay.
What does that mean? That means you call them and say, hey, listen, I have paid you to help me fix this problem. And you may be fixing the problem, but I don't know that. Can you let me know on a regular basis what's going on? I expect an email from you every 3 weeks. I expect a phone call from you. And just tell the CPA or the accountant what you expect. And if they don't do it and they can't follow up with you, and if they can't continue to communicate with you properly, you need to find somebody else that will.
Yes, that's a good interviewing question. Tell me how your process for how, because a lot of times you think that they're working on something and they're not doing anything, and and you don't know. And, for people that are listening, and I'm thinking about, listen, if you don't fix this, love this person to death, but I can't stand, and don't let me email you and I don't get a response,
Exactly.
about why you haven't done that. Then you got to go.
That's
because,
right.
Because they're great people, but they have a systems problem. So now, I'm sure they mean to. They have a systems problem where they can't.
If there's a systems problem, like you're saying, what other systems and procedures are they missing?
Yeah,
that's the next question.
Yes.
Because in the IRS world, okay, and this is what I tell everybody that comes through. I'm a professional. The IRS treats me as a professional from the beginning. That means that I have a full measure of credibility and a full measure of reliability. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you as a client miss your deadline to me and I miss the deadline to the IRS, it makes that full measure, it makes that bar one tick less. My credibility goes down. My reliability goes down. If my credibility measure goes all the way to 50%, do you think I'm going to be able to get you a successful outcome? The answer is no. So if you can't communicate to me and I can't communicate back to the IRS in a timely fashion, then don't expect me to get a great outcome for you, because the outcome is, believe it or not, the outcome is predicated based off of the delivery of service in this instant.
Right. Yeah. So it takes two to tango. So you kind of have your stuff together. And because you need certain things, power of attorney, give me your financial, whatever you ask for, you got to pull that stuff together by the deadline you get. But, Ben will give you a deadline. You got to get it done. But so it's that kind of stuff. So, one of the things is that, like a service that we offer is how to get organized with your money. We created like a one-page personal financial snapshot. And so now you're kind of organized. I'm actually starting working into like a binder, right? So that you can get your stuff. So talk about.
So let me mention one thing real quick.
Yeah, please.
Your business, it sounds like, is a lot like mine. I have what I call 4 cornerstones in order for me to work with you. And yet that's exactly what I just said. If you want to work with me, okay, you've got to agree to these 4 cornerstones, or else I'm out. I'm next. I go to the next person. Believe me, brother, there are so many people that have tax problems.
Right.
1 out of 50 people in the United States owe the IRS more than $15,000. 1 out of 50.
Wow.
And that is from the IRS data book. Okay. And plus, that doesn't even mention, the 7 or 8 million people that haven't filed their taxes on time that owe the IRS multiple tax returns. So let's talk about my 4 cornerstones. Number 1, you've got to be willing to change in order to work for me, because whatever you have been doing in the past, it doesn't work. And we've got to change the way that we have our stinking thinking. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number 2, you've got to be willing to put time in. This did not happen overnight. We're not going to get out of this overnight. You cannot expect that once you sign on with me that everything is hunky-dory. No, that is the first step, and I don't want to give you a false sense of hope or security that it's done, because it's not. Okay, so time, you have to be willing to put this as a priority in your life, which rolls into my third cornerstone, which is investment, right? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about your physical, mental, and emotional capacity to make this number one in your life to get it taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not mentally going to get yourself ready to understand, look, this has got to be important to you and important to me for us to get it done, then we're not going to be able to get it done. And the last one, and this is the one that a lot of people have a problem with, is accountability. I have to hold people accountable. If I want to get you a successful outcome with the IRS, I'm going to hold you accountable. And if you're not willing to be held accountable, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for either one of us.
So we have a similar business. I'm stealing all of that.
Right. No, I mean, but
that is awesome. That was awesome.
I'll tell people quick, there will be a point very soon that not only are we going to talk about the 4 cornerstones, but we're actually going to have an application process for people to become clients of ours.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to go through the application process, and these 4 cornerstones to me are important enough to, talk about to every single client, then at the end of the day, if you're going to expect someone else to help you and you're not going to give them the tools and enough of you to do it, then you might as well not do it. And I'm not here to play.
Right.
I've got enough practice. It's like, it's just like,
I don't need no practice. That's right.
Practice. This is the game.
Right. This is game.
I'm not in it for practice. I know what needs to be done. We just need to get it done.
That is funny. I tell people, if I train them in this business, I say, listen, or just people want to just talk. I say, listen, I don't need practice. I already know how to do this, So exactly when you come see me, it's game time. I don't do this for my health. and I care deeply, just like you do, about people having an outcome, but there's no, there's nothing good happens if you don't work, if you're not focused, if you're not willing to change, because it's the behavior that got you there.
Yeah. And you're right. It's more times than not, it's a behavioral issue. Like I said, when we first started talking, it's about, it's not bad people that get into these situations. It's a bad circumstance. So yeah. I had a doctor that went through a divorce, and his wife was his business manager. And when they split up, emotionally, he went to shambles. He was still showing up for work every day. He was still making money. He was still helping his clients. A lot of doctors give a lot of themselves out emotionally every single day to their clients anyway.
Yeah.
So, for him to go home and not have, his partner there, it put him into a state of ketosis, or just a state where he didn't want to move.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he got in big trouble because of the divorce and because she was helping him, and it was no fault of his own. He just didn't pay attention to some of the things he should have.
How can we, I don't know if this is good, but they're going to get into this, but how from a planning standpoint, one of the things I teach people about is income shifting, right? Which is having a home-based business or something like that, and which you can write off. But the key to that is keeping good records. Like I have an app where I can, take pictures of stuff and track my mileage and that kind of stuff. So what are some as you help people kind of change, do you give them homework they need to do to kind of change their behavior? So once you get them straight, they don't go right back into the same pattern again.
So there's 2 things that we look at. Tax resolution is reactive. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have to react to something that's happened in the past. Mm-hmm. And we can't change the past. The past is the past. Now we just have to deal with where we are. And what you're talking about is more being on the proactive side of how do we put tax planning in place to stop them from continuing to walk down the same dark tunnel,
right? And
change so that when they do their current taxes, they won't owe more money,
right?
So if I don't do some tax planning to help them change from where they are right now, all I would be doing is pushing them from one dark tunnel into the next dark tunnel, right?
Right.
There's a reason why a windshield in a car is as big as it is, and the rear view mirror is as small as it is, right?
Right.
It's because the imminent danger is in front of you.
Right.
You need to know what's behind you.
That's
But the imminent danger is in front. So when you're driving down the road of life and you see a pothole, you've got to be able to dodge it. And so tax planning, I think, is key. And you have to be very specific when you do tax planning and you have a tax problem, because you can't create assets when you do it. There's certain things that you can do. So when you do planning, there's a multiple phase or multiple step way to do that planning. And it just has to be done right if you have a tax problem. If you don't have a tax problem, you have to be proactive. I always say, if you want to save money on taxes, you always have to jump over a hurdle or through a hoop. What does that mean? That means there's going to be red tape involved. Are you willing to do the red tape? Are you willing to create that mileage log? Are you willing to make sure that you use an accountable reimbursement plan? Are you making sure that you're calculating the business use of the home properly? Are you documenting things the right way? That way, in the future, you don't run into these same problems again.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Ben, so anything I should have asked you as we wind down that I didn't, and then I want you to tell them what's the best way to reach out with you if you touch on things they need help with.
A couple things that I would say is, anybody that, if you think you owe money to the IRS, you still need to file your taxes every single year. You need to file your taxes on time every single year. A lot of people don't understand how absolutely large the failure to file penalty is. Make sure you file your taxes every single year, if you owe or not, because at the end of the day, we can take care of how much you owe, but if you just keep adding and stacking onto it, it's going to be more difficult at the end of the day to fix the problem. So make sure you file your taxes. Get with a professional that is proactive. Get with a professional that will communicate with you on a regular basis. And a lot of people say, well, those people cost money. Well, guess what? It's an investment. Right. It's not, look, you can't go to a used car dealership and expect to get a brand new Lamborghini. Okay, that doesn't work that way. You have to go to the place to get the great car. Right. So you have to change your expectations and then hold them accountable. That's the thing that a lot of people are not really wanting to do, is hold people accountable. If you hold them accountable, you'll get what you want in the end, or you'll go find someone else. Right.
That's good stuff. So, Ben, is the best way for them to, follow you or reach out to you if they have an issue?
Yeah, they can go and look me up on my website. It's www.goldentaxrelief.com. That's goldentaxrelief.com. In my opinion, relief can come in the past or in the future. So either resolution or planning, or a little bit of both.
Okay.
Or they can call us at 844-229-8936. All right. All my contact information is there on the website.
Yeah, and we'll put these in the show notes and tell them Curtis sent you, so they know our show is getting out there. That's how people are listening. But I think this is an issue. I run into a lot of people that, as I'm working through planning, and then I've people where I've got a person, she got levied, and I realized, oh, are you still making money? I says, yeah. And I thought they took all their money. That was one of the reasons the question, but she's been working it out. But the person that she was using, who thought was helping her, still has not called her back and doesn't know if she's doing anything on her behalf. She's called them. I told her to call what is that place? They still have that. Oh, this is thought. I'm sorry, I'm closing, but they still have that IRS department that works like if you have an issue. Tax advocate.
Yes,
is that still there?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah, the tax advocate is a department inside the inside the IRS that is an independent third party. So They are inside the budget of the IRS, but they are independent from the IRS, and they actually do help taxpayers clear problems that they can't clear themselves.
Okay.
So I actually use the advocate quite a bit because, believe it or not, the United States government Internal Revenue Service is an unbelievably huge governmental entity, and Department A and Department B don't speak to each other.
Yes.
It's hard to get some things done timely. So yeah, the advocate is a great source for you to use if you can't get something done on your own.
But it's helpful to use a representation, and then you can use them because, again, you still have the playbook, but they may be able to kind of be, it's like 2 against 1 kind of.
Well, I mean, it's about the language too. I can talk the language of both the layperson and the technical advisor from the IRS, as well as the IRS officer. So with me being able to relay the message from a liaison standpoint to a technical standpoint, it just adds one layer of complexity that the normal person doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what Ben offers is peace of mind, right? Because it's hard, especially if you're self-employed, you've got this hanging over your head. It's like a dark cloud. And so really you just want somebody to, make this go away. You've got work to do. He's got work to do. But, it's being worked out because you didn't get into it overnight, but you're not going to get out of it overnight. But it's good to, business or life is a team sport, right? And so you can only be good at so many things. So you need to, if you've got a problem, there's a solution. There's a specialist. Somebody, it's not how, it's who. Okay. And so if you have this, Ben might be that who to help you out of this scenario. So Ben, thanks for being on the Practical Wealth Show. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, we're going to put Ben's info. The only reason I'm not going over the COVID stuff, because I think by the time the shows come out, it'll be like August or late July. So I don't know where we're at and if there'd be any money left in. if so, we could do a follow-up on this if necessary. But thanks for listening, guys. Go out there. And if you've got these issues, reach out to Ben, and it sounds like he'll take good care of you, and go out there and make it a prosperous day. Listen, like, and share. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must